How Hungary is tackling its immigration crisis, all Muslims kicked out. The political landscape and Fidesz's strategy. Since the onset of the migration crisis in 2015, Hungary's ruling party, Fidesz, has leveraged the issue of immigration to reshape its political landscape significantly. Utilizing a strategy characterized by anti-pluralism and populism, Fidesz has positioned itself as the sole defender of the nation against perceived threats from migrants and refugees. This rhetoric has been bolstered by the party's dominance over media outlets, allowing for the dissemination of propaganda that portrays migrants as the primary enemies of national identity. The framing of criticism against the government as an attack on its anti-immigration policies has effectively polarized the electorate, reinforcing the notion that opposing Fidesz equates to supporting mass immigration. Fidesz's manipulation of the migration issue has also resulted in an increase in its popularity. As the party continuously emphasizes anti-immigration sentiments, its support surged from 24% in March 2015 to 38% by January 2019. The simplification of public discourse to focus almost exclusively on migration has allowed Fidesz to create a new political cleavage, a divide between liberal pro-globalists and anti-liberal populists. This shift has marginalized alternative voices, including moderate factions within the far right, leading to a reconfiguration of political alliances and enmities, wherein the party has absorbed the most radical positions from the far right. The transformation of the far right in Hungary. The rise of Fidesz's hardline anti-migration stance has profoundly impacted the dynamics of Hungary's far-right political organizations. As Fidesz adopted radical anti-immigration policies, parties like Jobbik faced an existential crisis, leading them to moderate their rhetoric in a bid to remain relevant. Jobbik's transition towards a more centrist position alienated its radical base, ultimately resulting in a schism that birthed a new far-right entity, Our Homeland, in 2018. This fragmentation within the far right illustrates the profound effects of Fidesz's dominance, which not only redefined the political landscape, but also forced rival parties to either adopt more extreme positions or dilute their messages to attract voters. Additionally, the fragmentation of far-right ideologies has given rise to new movements aimed at filling the void left by Jobbik's moderation. Groups such as Force and Determination have emerged to cater to more radical factions, illustrating a complex interplay where Fidesz's strategies inadvertently spurred the organization of extreme right-wing groups. The shifting political climate in Hungary has transformed the nation into a hub for international far-right activists who are drawn to the country's supportive political environment. This dynamic has amplified the rhetoric surrounding nationalism and anti-immigrant sentiments, solidifying Hungary's reputation as a focal point for far-right ideology in Europe. Ideological underpinnings of anti-immigrant sentiment. At the core of the far-right and populist rhetoric in Hungary lies a deeply entrenched narrative of nationalism intertwined with anti-liberal sentiments. This ideology promotes a perception of victimhood among Hungarians, harking back to historical grievances such as the Trianon Treaty, which is often invoked to stoke feelings of nationalism. The current narrative depicts immigration as a fundamental threat to the nation's cultural and religious identity, positioning Hungary as a bastion against the perceived encroachment of Islam and other non-European cultures. This ideological framework simplifies complex social issues into a binary narrative, effectively mobilizing support against immigrants and reinforcing the government's anti-immigration policies. Moreover, the far-right's framing of Islam has evolved in response to political developments. Initially, there were moderate stances towards Islam within some factions, but the migration crisis catalyzed a shift toward more aggressive anti-Muslim rhetoric. The lack of a visible Muslim community in Hungary prior to 2015 allowed for the unchallenged propagation of negative stereotypes, linking Islam to violence and extremism. Fidesz and far-right media have exploited historical references to depict contemporary migrants as modern invaders, echoing fears rooted in Hungary's historical conflicts with the Ottoman Empire. This cultural war narrative resonates with segments of the population, bolstering support for anti-immigrant policies and reinforcing a collective identity that is staunchly opposed to multiculturalism. Repercussions for Hungarian society and minorities. The impact of Fidesz's anti-immigration policies extends beyond political discourse, infiltrating the fabric of Hungarian society and altering the treatment of various minority groups. By framing migrants and refugees as threats, Fidesz has normalized xenophobia, fostering an environment where hostility toward all foreign elements is prevalent. This has resulted in increased discrimination not only against Muslims, but also against other marginalized communities, such as the Roma and LGBTQ individuals, who are often grouped into the broader category of societal others. The rhetoric employed by the government has not only legitimized hatred, but has also encouraged the public to view these communities through a lens of suspicion and fear. As societal polarization intensifies, the narrative of us versus them further entrenches divisions within Hungarian society. The government's framing of immigration as a national security issue creates a climate of fear that justifies repressive measures against dissenters, including NGOs and activists who work toward refugee rights. This atmosphere stifles open dialogue about immigration, human rights, and the complexities of cultural integration, thereby limiting opportunities for a more nuanced understanding of these issues. The long-term implications for Hungarian society may include a shrinking space for civil society and a diminishing capacity for empathy and solidarity across cultural lines. The future of Europe. Hungarian perspectives. Hungarians largely support EU membership despite the government's prolonged anti-EU stance, yet they express significant dissatisfaction with the bloc's management of the refugee crisis. Many expect substantial benefits from being part of the EU, but show no tolerance for pain regarding refugee redistribution, indicating a one-sided expectation for wealthier nations to assist poorer ones without offering solidarity in return. The ruling Fidesz party promotes a Europe of Nations vision. Prime Minister Orbán emphasizes the need to protect Hungary from bureaucratic overreach, advocating for cooperation among sovereign states while maintaining national identity. Conversely, the traditionally Eurosceptic Jobbik Party has shifted its stance to support EU reform rather than a withdrawal, emphasizing solidarity and equal wages across member states. Newer parties like Our Homeland are advocating for a referendum on EU membership, reflecting ongoing debates about Hungary's role within the Union. Overall, the discourse surrounding the EU and Hungary is deeply intertwined with issues of national identity and sovereignty, shaping the country's political landscape. Conclusion: Hungary's immigration crisis and future implications. Hungary's approach to the immigration crisis has profound implications for its political future and societal cohesion. The Fidesz party's exploitation of anti-immigrant sentiments has allowed it to consolidate power by reshaping political discourse and redefining national identity. By creating a monolithic enemy in the form of migrants and refugees, the government has effectively diverted attention from pressing domestic issues, including economic disparities and social welfare. This strategy has not only solidified Fidesz's electoral base, leading to a homogenization of thought in public discourse. Looking ahead, the repercussions of this strategy may manifest in increasingly authoritarian governance and a declining commitment to human rights. As the government continues to frame immigration as a national threat, it risks entrenching a culture of intolerance and division that could alienate Hungary from its European partners. The trajectory of Hungary's response to its immigration crisis serves as a cautionary tale for other nations grappling with similar challenges. If you found this content valuable, be sure to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your feedback helps us create even more relevant and insightful content. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update on the latest global developments and their real-world impacts.